basics, basic use, setup, and configuration. If you're looking at Mule as it stands, this is a standard configuration. You've got 2 sections of mast, Mule, a fork pocket base, a pallet base. We also have potential availability of a wheeled cart base, which would give you pneumatic wheels underneath the pallet base for transportation on a job site. And we also have potential for other gripping instruments as well. So let's start with basic use of Mule. You see it operates by movement of your arm, so there's no robotics or machinery involved in the actual rotation. This is just your hand putting it, the device in direction, whatever direction you're moving. So when we're going to pick up a piece of material, this is a 12-inch concrete, 75% solid CMU. We're going to place the gripper in the core. We're going to grab the unit. And this is a little over 90 pounds. We have the unit as close to level as possible, floating. We're going to address the wall. So right here we have a little mock-up wall with a string line. We're going to hit our set button, which gives us some of the weight of the material back. We're going to bring the unit to our level line. We're going to hit our grip button, and it'll release from the block, and we can go and pick the next unit. So with the Mule, you can pick off of your stock material. So we just have a pallet. You could be setting it, whatever location near your wall is possible with either a pallet jack or a forklift. Don't touch it again. Don't restock the block. Just pull it right off your stock material. Bring it to the line. Again, you hit your grip button. It's going to release the block, and we move on to the next one. Let me show you real quick some of the instrumentation here. Things that you need to know. You have your float button, which allows us to float. This is how Mule is working properly, whether it's holding material or just holding its own weight. It's floating in one position. When it's in float, the input of a single finger in any direction is all you need to move the material. We have a few buttons also that you may want to get familiar with. You have auto retract. This button here, as long as it's depressed, lets the unit retract after you set a block. It retracts to a height that you determine. You set the retract height by hitting this button once at whatever position you desire. You also have an emergency stop. So for some reason you need to stop whatever the activity is you're doing and you don't want Mule to move, you hit E-stop. When you turn E-stop off, it basically refreshes the unit, powers it back up, records the current data, and you're ready to go when the light is blue. We have a gripper here that was made just for the Glenwood team and for the New York City market. This is a configurable gripper. You see you have multiple points of configuration to move to different size units. You can then balance those units with a quick adjust for balancing. You also have these front, what we'll call fingers, can be adjusted for width, so you can grab different core configurations of block. There's virtually no limitation to the masonry unit that can be lifted with this particular gripper. On the side of the gripper here, we have a set button and a grip button. The set button gives me some of the weight of the block back. If I tap it again, it takes set off. The grip button releases it. And something good to show is that I can hit grip and it won't release the unit. Mule will find ground to relieve the weight, and only when the block has been fully relieved, when it hits the ground, sorry, it takes a minute, but only at the point in which Mule says, okay, I'm safe, will it let go of the block. The point that when you're changing materials with Mule, so if I go from, say, like we have here, an 8-inch 75% solid, and I start working with a 12-inch 75% solid, it's going to be a new material. I'm going to hit calibrate. It's going to put it in pendant mode. It's going to record the weight of the block, and when that blue light returns, that means this unit's weight has been recorded. And that's all you have to do to switch material types. So if you're in a building and you're working and you have an adjacent wall that changes material size, it's as simple as hitting one button to calibrate for the appropriate unit that you're working with. So if you were to grab, go from a lighter unit to a heavier unit, Okay, so I'm gonna grab this unit. It's not gonna lift because this is a lighter unit. I'm gonna manually lift it by hitting the arrow up. So these buttons will manually move the unit up or down. So in this case, I wanted it to lift. And once I lifted it, it knows that it's got something new on. It records the data, and I'm floating. Because if I went from let's say, a heavier unit, right, to a lighter unit, the reverse would apply. So if I grab the 8.875, 8.16, 75% solid after grabbing the 12s, it would start running away from me. So I would just hit the calibrate button, it would stop. Because when you hit the calibrate button, it puts it in pendant mode. Pendant stops it. It would measure it, weigh it, and then it's ready to go. But if I went from the 8, say, to the 12 like we did, it can't lift the 12 because it's properly calibrated for a lighter weight block. Does that make sense? Remember, this is a 90+ pound unit. I hit the set button, get some of the weight back, bring it to my string line, which I haven't moved up, but that's okay. Set the block. And we can adjust things like retract speed, the speed that it releases the grip. That's all adjustable. Right now, we're just doing this for demonstration purpose to identify what the process looks like or should look like. Again, hit the set button, bring it to the line. And remember, if I had wet mortar underneath here, this is gently setting in the mortar a 90-pound unit so I don't squish out any of the, or blow out any of the mortar out of the joint. Set is a very elegant way to let the block set in wet mud. All right. If you look at the arm, we're at about 11 foot. We're at about the farthest reach of our area of work. As I mentioned, we have 22 feet total. It's 11 feet left and right of center.